Good morning. My name is Nicola Frankovic and I'm a consultant at Autologica. Welcome to this webinar on key and crucial reports for daily leadership management. We are conducting this course because we've seen a lot of inquiries and interest in this important topic, and taking advantage of the upcoming launch of our innovative analytics tool, we want to provide a theoretical framework and practical approach to the subject. So how will this training be conducted? We'll be looking at reports and KPIs organized by leadership departments. This will help us better organize the content and also see how different reports relate to each other. Along with descriptions of what can be analyzed and some practical examples, we'll explore different strategies for improvement. As you have questions, feel free to write them in the questions section in the Q&A button, and we have consultants ready to answer. And one more point I don't want to forget. At the end of the course, along with the video and the survey, we'll also send you a list of links to reports, indicators, and information that will be very useful to you. All the information, reports, and functions we are discussing today are available in Autologica Sky DMS, our management system for dealerships, and in the analytics tools used by different companies in the countries where we operate. For those participating for the first time, Autologica Sky DMS is a cloud-based management system for dealerships that optimizes and streamlines tasks for each role within the company. Today, it's being used in over 20 countries, and this year we celebrate 3 decades alongside our clients. So it's party time. If after the webinar you are interested in scheduling a meeting to chat and learn more about the system, or maybe see an online demonstration, you can indicate it in the survey you'll receive or write us via social media, WhatsApp, or email. Why are we conducting a course on reports and KPIs at this time of year? Um, because it's always a good opportunity to start incorporating or strengthening the habit of measuring everything that happens in the dealership with the aim of making strategic decisions, but also because competitiveness and brand requirements are gaining much more prominence. Dealerships looking to remain competitive need to know how to use the data generated in the business. Data generated in the dealership is an asset that in many cases is not utilized, but not only because managers have no way of obtaining it, but also because there are no recipes, manuals, or checklists that dictate how it should be interpreted and used. Now, yes, let's start with the service area. Profitability of jobs. This first indicator will allow us to determine if jobs are profitable, considering the billing and the cost of hours worked. The indicator indicates, redundantly, if a job performed by the technician has a high gross margin or not. If the indicator gives an unexpected value, we need to ask ourselves, is that operator the right one for this type of work? Perhaps that operator is more skilled in other tasks or jobs. This is key to sharpening a strategic vision, like in chess, knowing how to move the pieces to seek the best result. Is the operator well trained? Vehicle industry is constantly changing, requiring constant thinking and seeking ways to train each operator. Perhaps profitability can be improved by investing in training. How can I improve the gross margin? If technicians are better trained, each job will consume less time. This translates to each technician being paid a smaller proportion for each job, increasing the gross margin. Training advisors and technicians is a task that must be done periodically. This will prevent errors, save time and money, and improve customer satisfaction. For Autologica users, this report is one of many available to department managers, but in Autologica Analytics, the tool we are about to launch, it is much easier to analyze. 2 clicks will be enough to know this information daily. What happens when a consumer's warranty expires? In many cases, they start taking their vehicle to a non-official workshop. The reasons can be many: costs, convenience, but there's a reason that remains hidden. Often, they stop taking their vehicle to the official dealership because it doesn't maintain a commercial relationship with the customer. The famous radio silence, something so easy to avoid, but at the same time so detrimental in any relationship. Are there reports to avoid controlling this? Of course. That's why we are here. On the one hand, a report like customers who made or did not make purchases between a date range is essential. Surely, you know who your important customers are, the ones you don't want to lose because they are strategic, because they buy a lot, because they've been with you from the beginning. This is an essential report to identify if they have stopped buying recently. To take it a step further, Autologica created Commercial Actions, which is a module that cross-references this information with each customer's consumption. This becomes an indicator to detect major customers who have stopped buying. Related to this issue, I add not an indicator but a function that dealership management systems, DMS, include, and it's service marketing. The objective of this set of functions is for the dealership to capture all the work its customers will need to do throughout the life cycle of their vehicle. DMSs have reports that allow knowing the mileage and usage hours of customers' units based on their latest entries and exits to the workshop, to anticipate and suggest works that need to be done, also to suggest maintenance work for a vehicle, and to know the used vehicle's history at the time of purchase. With all this information, campaigns can be created, resources can be invested to execute the campaign, and loyalty rates and, above all, spare parts and service sales can be improved. While the previous two reports focused on the gross margin of jobs on one hand and sales potential on the other, this report, called Workshop Services Summary, will allow analyzing the composition and characteristics of the total repair orders. What is it for? To evaluate the workshop's operation by knowing the number of repair orders, hours per RO, amount worked, spare parts per RO, totals, uh, and last but not least, work effectiveness. Think of it as an X-ray of the workshop. The benefits: rethink how jobs and spare parts should be offered to increase both work and spare parts sales. Detect a need for training in the service department. Truly know if you are selling to customers or if most of the jobs are internal or warranty related. Perhaps many of the jobs are internal, but you are focusing on reconditioning vehicles for sale or for pre-delivery jobs. I mentioned once again analytics because this is something super important and mentioned by the people we consulted. At the start of the day, general managers and service managers will be able to preview this same information from the web, contributing to having a unique and previously unattainable knowledge of the workshop. What we'll discuss now are indicators and reports from the parts department. If I were to ask you today how many lost sales and returns of parts you have on average in each store, could you instantly provide that data? Are you strategizing to eliminate the reasons for lost sales? Or are you reviewing workshop processes to reduce returns? These indicators can be quickly known with key reports provided by the DMS. With these two reports I want to mention, you can differentiate returns, which can be from a customer or from the service department, from lost sales. That is when a customer's order is not fulfilled. Measuring returns can be done both in the workshop and at the counter with return vouchers and credit notes, respectively. In the workshop, it allows evaluating the efficiency of the technicians when they request parts to test on a vehicle, which they then return to the shelf because it was not the correct part. At the counter, you can measure the training of parts clerks when selling an incorrect item that the customer later returns and exchanges for another part. This wouldn't be a lost sale, but a return. The benefit here: measure the training of part clerks when selling an incorrect item that the customer later returns and exchanges for another part. Active management of returns minimizes future levels of obsolete parts. Furthermore, it allows a real analysis of the causes of returns, enabling measures to be taken with an analytical basis for process improvement. The analysis of lost sales doesn't only apply to dealerships. In fact, it's something that it also internally analyzed, and I assure you that dedicating time to this information radically changes results. The company that analyzes lost sales is constantly changing in how they sell, in how they start a conversation, in how they demonstrate expertise, in how they convey confidence. Companies that doesn't do this reach a point where they apply inefficient sales methods that only increase the number of lost sales. So, how to act regarding lost sales? Availability: improve the purchasing processes. Attention: train the parts clerks. And price: analyze strategies to offer, for example, bundles of parts and services that make it more attractive to the customer. Next, in the previous line, the after sales manager of the leadership can know the total potential revenue of the department by analyzing both lost sales and completed sales. And this data is useful also to know the fulfillment rate of the department, an important data since for some manufacturers this indicator is usually called parts availability percentage and can be calculated by quantity, by amount, or by line, with the latter being the strictest option. For instance, the customer requests 10 parts and we can only deliver 5. So the availability index by quantity will give us 50%, but the availability index by line will be 0%. I couldn't satisfy the customer 100% for that part. So to improve these reports, for example, we offer two functions that are included in the DMS. Purchase suggestions. What are the risks of buying by intuition? Buying parts that won't sell, overstocking, etc. That's why it's advisable to make planned purchases. With this function of DMS that, for example, Autologica's customers have available, through an analysis of statistical data related to recurring stock movements, it calculates and suggests which purchases the parts manager should make to always have an ideal stock. This way, the leadership avoids two situations that are critical and imply losses of money: stockouts and overstock. And stock control. Another recommended practice is to carry out regular stock control tasks, such as detecting parts with low turnover, calculating the obsolescence index, and performing inventory counting. These tasks allow having total control of what happens in the warehouses and making strategic decisions. So, for this point, the Autologica Analytic tool, which as I mentioned, is about to be released. And if you are interested, we can already give you a demonstration. Has a section dedicated to analyzing this indicator. So if this indicator is controlled and efforts are made to improve it, profitability and revenue of the department will increase, customer loyalty will improve, and emergency purchases will decrease. The secret to success is to have the habit of measuring, knowing how to interpret, setting objectives, and implementing improvements. Okay, now I want to show you a report that is perhaps more complex, but very useful for selling more parts by focusing on those that are most significant when analyzing sales. What are my customers buying? And identifying the most significant parts for sale. Autologica DMS allows parts managers to focus on parts management in order to implement effective policies through the ABC report of parts purchases. So, knowing and focusing management on the group of parts most significant for sales will be one of the benefits. The ABC is based on an empirical law, the Pareto's law, or the 80-20 rule, few of much and many of little. It has been observed in general that a reduced group of parts, the 20%, concentrate 80% of sales. This report allows knowing that 20% to focus management on that group. There are other possible analyses that are more interesting. For instance, what are the parts with the most stock and least sales? Basically, we are proposing the idea of crossing two ABCs reports, that of stock and that of sales. Autologic allows these crosses between different criteria, including a greater number of reports. I hope that so far this information is useful to you, and I remind you that you can write any questions you may have in the questions sections labeled Q&A, and we have consultants ready to answer. Now, yes, I would like to move on to the sales part. One of the biggest problems in unit management is a mobilization in stock. This problem generates a mobilized capital, insurance expenses, deposit expenses, etc. Modern DMSs allow obtaining a list of all vehicles or equipment in stock ordered by age, having first those that have been in stock the longest. This is the aging of vehicles, and it allows knowing the average number of days vehicles remain in stock globally and also seeing them specifically for each vehicle. So what are the benefits? Establish policies to offer vehicles that have been in stock for longer to avoid capital being unmobilized for longer than desired. Know which units are least purchased by our customers and what are the costs of having vehicles in stock. Unmobilized capital, insurance expenses, and deposit expenses. As you can see, I'm talking about indicators and also reports that we find interesting. This is a composite report of highly analyzed indicators by sales managers. Conversion rates. What is the closing rate in your dealerships today? What strategies are you implementing to improve them? Ultra Motors dealership achieved 200 sales last month, but is that a good number? At first glance, yes, but when analyzing the sales funnel generated by the CRM, the following is discovered. To achieve the 200 sales, 1200 contacts had to be generated. That is 16% converted into sales. Of the 1200 contacts generated, only 45%, that is 540 contacts, received follow-up. That is, many contacts were not called back or contacted again. Taking this information into account, the sales manager concludes that to double vehicle sales, if they continue working the same way with the same structure and processes, they will need to generate twice as many contacts, which is not at all easy. However, a better practice will be to analyze the number of contacts throughout all stages. If only 45% received follow-up and converted into one sales at 60%, at which stage of the sales process do we lose most of our prospects? Are we generating more contacts than we can follow up with? Are we generating contacts that are not useful and result in a waste of time? Should we expand our marketing sales staff to achieve better follow up? Are our salespeople entering all contact information into the CRM? The Sales Funnel Report is a CRM classic, and it's clearly available in Tracker CRM. Many of the people in the webinar use the CRM, and therefore they are familiar with this report that helps us conclude. Stage where most opportunities are lost, generation of prospects that are not useful or have poor quality, need to invest in prospect management and follow-up, sales process conversion rate, and last but not least, effectiveness of the sales process. So, are all sales profitable? No, not all of them are, but we don't know this until we measure it. This is done by recording every expense related to the sales operation and analyzing the reports that support them. Selling a vehicle has many costs: warehouse rent, insurance, hiring, meetings between the seller and the prospect, administrative expenses, discounts, even marketing actions that generated interest. If this is not controlled, the true profit from the sale can never be known. So, when we have the habit of recording all costs related to the sales process, the sales manager will not only know if the operation is profitable, but also draw conclusions that will allow them to detect errors that need to be corrected. That unit remains in stock for a long time without being sold and generates high costs for staying in the warehouse and for insurance. Large discounts offered to customers to avoid losing the sale but affecting the operation's profitability. Costs of contact between the seller and prospect, and maximum discount margin that can be applied to the customer based on the incentives for registration that the OEM grants to the dealership. And related to the previous one, another indicator that you can quickly measure in analytics is the profit margin. What is it for? This KPI is key to knowing the profit percentage of each sale and thus detecting which units are more profitable. This indicator can be contrasted with the minimum acceptable performance defined by the dealership. So, how to improve this indicator? If the value of this indicator in the dealership is too low, the sales manager should analyze if there are units that remain in stock for a long time without being sold and generate high costs for staying in the warehouse and for insurance. If too much money is invested in marketing to generate prospects that are not sold, if discounts are offered to customers to avoid losing the sale but affect the operation's profitability, and if high costs incurred in contact between seller and prospect, for instance, trips, sales calls, etc. All right, up to this point, this review of indicators and reports that are key to measuring critical points in each department. You can reach out to us through social media, email, or WhatsApp in case you have any questions or if you'd like to learn more about our leadership management software. I want to thank you for your time and we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming training sessions we'll be hosting. And in the next few weeks, we'll be offering an exclusive session for Autologica customers, showcasing time saving and process streamlining features that you may not be familiar with. So, thank you once again. Until next time.